So today I want to talk about troubleshooting drive performance on a NAS unit. I'll take you with me as we troubleshoot a little speed issue I had recently. The results I got and the reasons behind it might surprise you as much as it surprised me. If you're interested in finding out more about this, watch the rest of this video. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click that notifications icon so you'll be notified of any future content. So recently I did a video talking about how and why I replaced my standard WD Red SMR drives with some Seagate Iron Wolf drives. Since that video, I've put these drives through their paces and I use them on a daily basis as they are actually loaded in my main NAS unit. What I began to notice though was that the rate appeared to be overall pretty slow, especially when writing. It was sort of subjective, at least initially, but I didn't seem to be getting the performance from the RAID that I kind of was expecting. It bothered me enough to get me started and trying to do some benchmarking and trying to do some troubleshooting, trying to find out what was going on. In order to try to isolate the problem, the only thing I really had to compare to was an identical NAS unit. The only difference is it had a 4-drive array and they were Western Digital Red Pro drives, versus the NAS unit that I was currently having the issue with, which only had a 3-drive setup. So I did some quick file copy testing as you're watching it here on the screen. And on initial testing, what I saw was about 2.5 times the write performance on the unit that had the WD Red Pro drives over the unit that had the Iron Wolf drives. Even though these are identical units other than the drive type, I didn't really expect to see that at all. Nor did I actually buy into the theory that there was actually anything wrong with the drives and that there was that much difference between the drives. So I'm going to fast forward to the end of this test so you can see the significant difference that I saw. Now at this point, the only thing I could really do and to really prove to see that there was actually anything wrong with the drives was to actually put WD Red Pro drives in my main NAS unit. In other words, do a 1-for-1 swap. So I went ahead and, since luckily for me, I had a few days left on my return policy, so I ended up sending back the Seagate Iron Wolves and decided to replace them with some WD Red Pros, just so that I could better understand this performance issue. So I went ahead and put went ahead and swapped the drives, and as you can see from the benchmark, not much really changed. Basically, it didn't make a whole lot of difference whether they were Iron Wolves or WD Red Pros. It just simply would not come close to the same performance of the other NAS unit. So at this point, I was starting to scratch my head a little bit, trying to figure out what was going on. I ended up going through pretty much every setting in each NAS unit, trying to compare, trying to understand what was different. Was there any settings, anything that might be affecting performance that drastically? And what I found, and I'm not entirely sure why this would make this drastic of a difference, but the only noticeable difference I found was a Inode setting on the particular volume that I was using. The current default when you set up a new volume on a QNAP is to use 32K Inode. I know for a fact that in the past their defaults were different, and it's very possible I played around with different settings. But on the unit that was giving me performance troubles, my Inode setting was set to 16K. And again, I'm not a Linux expert, so I'm not 100% sure how this interacts with the volume and the extended volume and how it affects performance. But the only way that you can really change that is by really recreating a new volume, and you can't change it basically after the fact. I decided at this point, if I'm going to go through all this trouble, that I'm going to basically reinitialize the array and start from scratch. So what I ended up doing is moving all my data off the NAS, recreating the array, recreating all the volumes exactly as they were, with being careful not to change any of the default settings. And then I redid the performance testing, and I was shocked to see the difference. Now obviously you're going to see a slight difference between 3 and 4 drives in terms of RAID performance, but What I saw by just by basically reinitializing the array and changing the settings to match the other one, I saw a huge difference in performance. And again, I can't swear that there wasn't something wrong with the volume or the way it was, initially configured, or that something happened to it, or if it was just simply that setting. All I know is this is the steps that I followed, basically not knowing what else to do at this point, not wanting to live with 2 to 3 times less performance. This is what I ended up doing. And I'm quite happy with the result. It was a little bit painful moving all the data off, your NAS unit, but, I was able to pull it off and actually ended up doing some house cleaning in the process. So overall, it was a success and it gave me the performance back. And as you can see from this benchmark, it's not quite as fast as the 4 drive, but it's a heck of a lot faster than where I started. So in the end, this took a little bit more time than I expected, but at least I was able to resolve it. I'm not 100% sure. I know I completely understand as to why this fixed it. All I know is it did fix it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thanks for coming along on this troubleshooting journey. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and click the notifications icon so you'll be notified of any new content. And as always, click a like if you like this video. We'll see you on the next one.